Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That is Andrew, I'm Randy, and how would you have liked to have made some of that NFL money yesterday? How about 1% of the NFL money?
I would take less than 1% of
Pretty
that
incredible. Coming up, a good idea for mid-major conference tournaments, a crazy day of legal tampering in the NFL, and we have our favorite international teams of all time, but we're going to get things started with our quick hits. And if you're looking for a reason to get excited about Cardinals baseball in 2026, Monday in Jupiter might have been a sneak preview. 4 home runs from young bats, 2 from Chase Davis, former first-round pick, 1 from J.J. Weatherholt, former first-round pick, and another towering shot from Josh Baez, former second-round pick, who's now homered in 3 straight spring training games, but the streak ends there, because right after the game, Baez was sent to Memphis. These are the organization's top prospects, and there is a certain hope that the Cardinals have that they can get some power, because on the major league team now, they don't really have established power. So what they need is the guys that can drive fastballs 400 plus feet and show the kind of power that can change a game in one swing of the bat.
Sounds about right? Josh Baez getting sent down after a hit streak?
This is where the Cardinals are going to be so much better under Chaim Bloom.
Absolutely.
Being patient, not rushing a guy who's never played a game in AAA. This is the way that minor league systems are supposed to be run. And it was interesting. Apparently, after Baez hit the home run, somebody in the stands yelled to Chaim Bloom with his camera going. He said, "Chaim, bring him to St. Louis." And Bloom went, like, pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes.
And that's the way it's got to be. That's smart running of a baseball franchise.
But you know what? I also like that fan interaction too, because that fan tells me what fans should be acting like today. It's getting excited about those young prospects, not getting excited about, hey, we might only win 70 games this year. It's watch what J.J. Weatherholt does at the plate. If he develops, that's a win for the St. Louis Cardinals. Watch Ivan Herrera at the plate. If he hits for more power, that's a win for the Cardinals. Winning in St. Louis this year in 2026 is seeing guys take the next step.
We should get excited, but they shouldn't get so excited that they bring up a guy who's only played 50 games in the outfield and start him on opening day. It's one thing for us to be excited and get emotionally invested. It's another thing for them to just keep their cool. College basketball. Bruce Pearl has said some wild things since moving into a broadcaster's role from a top SEC coaching role that he retired from. Things like Miami of Ohio doesn't belong in the NCAA tournament if they don't win the AMAC tournament because they just went undefeated in the regular season. But he has brought up a few valid points as well, like saying mid-major number 1 and 2 tournament teams should get an automatic bye to the semifinals to value what happens in the regular season more. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. In fact, when you look at the Big Ten, Illinois goes right into the quarterfinals, and they're one of the top teams in the country. So if you're a mid-major, why not give yourself the opportunity to have your best teams win the tournament so that you don't lose a bid?
Well, basketball is that sport that anything can happen on any given night. A team can just get hot, and whether you're a 12 seed or whether you are a 2 seed, you don't want to be putting your best team in your conference at a disadvantage by making them go longer. If you want to actually value what the regular season is, for schools like Miami of Ohio or schools like SLU, put them right into the semifinals because they still have to work for that championship. You're not just giving them the auto bid to the title game, but you're also limiting their chances of losing early on just because, hey, they were just off that night.
And SLU does have a double bye. I mean, when you put them in the semifinals, you only have to win 2 games to get to the tournament.
But I think that's value.
I don't, that is, but so is having to win 3 and getting a double bye, not having to play in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, and then only having to win 3 games. I think there's tremendous value there, too. I don't think it's too bad. And by the way, you want to sell content, right? You want to have games that you have to put on television and that you want fans to show up for.
Yeah, I want SLU, though, in the title game.
Speaking of SLU, Coach Josh Schertz joined the show to talk about the A-10 tournament up ahead in Pittsburgh. SLU is the number 1 seed and will face the winner of George Washington and Fordham on Friday. The Bills finished the season 3-3 after winning 18 straight, so this break was much needed.
Stinks. There's no way to slice or dice it. There's never a good time to lose. Losing, no matter when it is, sucks. But at the end of the day, it's a part of high-level competition. It's hard to have, compete at a really high level and never experience any failure, adversity. That's not really the way it works. And your ability to have the resilience, when the wind's at your face, you got to be able to endure. And you got to be able to understand and lock into the controllable things you can do to flip it when the wind's at your face and when the wind's at your back, which it has been most of the season.
Okay, I don't think that these 3 losses in the 3-3 stretch are disastrous. George Mason is not a bad basketball team. Rhode Island was kind of a fluky thing, and they were within a shot of winning that game. And Dayton, that was Dayton's national championship game after Mizzou had beat them by 30 here at Chaffetz Arena, and Dayton is a good team. So I don't think that going 3-3 down the stretch is a disaster, but that being said, if I had the choice, I'd rather go 3-3 at the beginning and then only lose 1 game the rest of the year.
It's all about perspective. Dayton was playing some of their best basketball. They were on a win streak. That's one that you can't really just take away. Plus, they were at home. Anytime SLU goes on the road, they have a big disadvantage. When they're at home, of course, you're going to have the advantage. That's just the nature of college basketball. But in general, after listening to Schertz yesterday, it almost felt like he sounded gutted by those 3 losses. Listening back, I might have reached a little bit too far there. He didn't really sound as gutted as I thought. Pretty even keel, which is good because you need a strong response as you enter tournament play.
All right, let's talk Blues fans and the trade deadline. Complaints can still be heard about not trading Jordan Binnington or Jordan Kyrou, who, by the way, has a full no-trade clause, but especially Jordan Binnington. And here's the thing. We live in this, what have you done for me lately, sports world, where fans are quick to turn on any player who doesn't immediately deliver. Does this culture make sense when you consider long-term roster building, or Blues fans, any fans, just impatient with anything less than instant results and perfection? I can tell you that St. Louis Rams fans couldn't wait to get rid of Kurt Warner after he got off to a bad start in 2002. He wins 2 out of 3 MVPs, leads his team to 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, and then starts 0-5 in 2002. And then Mark Bulger started when Warner got hurt, and fans here couldn't wait to get rid of him. Sometimes when you have a championship guy, he's probably pretty good, and it's kind of dangerous to wish for something because you might get it.
How hard is it to find great goaltending in the NHL?
Pretty hard.
It's extremely difficult. Just look at the franchise of the St. Louis Blues and how many guys they had to go search for, not just develop, but go out and trade for. You get a guy like Binnington, who was the only bright spot of this team when the team wasn't very good after the post-Cup run. Right? This is a guy that was keeping you in hockey games. Sure, it hasn't been sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows this season with him. And Hofer has proven to be the better goalie, but that doesn't mean you just ship him off.
Well, can Jordan Binnington win a big game? Is it possible for him in 2026 to win a big hockey game as a goalie?
Absolutely.
I think so. We saw it in the Olympics, didn't we?
We saw him start when he was having a bad year. Yes, Army was the GM, but still, Army would have done what was best for Team Canada, not best for Jordan Binnington.
And Jordan Binnington is another guy who loves St. Louis and loves this franchise and is really proud to be a member of the St. Louis Blues. Some guys aren't necessarily that way. I think that sometimes, well, a lot of times, fans take guys on the team for granted. Team USA continues on the path to glory at the World Baseball Championship after holding off Mexico 5-3 in the 3rd game of pool play. Paul Skeens delivered 4 stellar innings for the USA. The Bats produced a 5-run inning, and Garrett Whitlock notched the save. The roster is loaded with 22 MLB All-Stars, making the Americans still the clear favorite to win the tournament. Although they're down 1 now, Tarek Skubal is leaving to return to Tigers camp. And you know what? He set his offseason up to pitch for the Tigers. He's a Scott Boras guy, so his focus is going to be on him and what comes after the season, which is free agency. I think if the USA was worried about Skubal leaving, they never should have invited him.
Yeah, well, and I just think they were good with their roster. Whether they had Skubal there or not, they were just fine with it. I actually think more on Skubal. He shouldn't have even showed up. Skubal should have just stayed back and let somebody else fill that spot because he knew what he was going to do. He said, I'm considering my options. I might start another game. He knew he was going back because he's worried about protecting himself, and that's cool. That's totally fine. There are so many other stars on this team that will carry the workload. It won't even impact Team USA at all.
And think about this. This team has Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens. The last team had Miles Michaelis on it, okay? So this might be the best USA baseball team ever.
Yeah, Paul Skeens, Cy Young winner. Tarek Skubal, Cy Young winner. Miles Michaelis, is he going to win the Cy Young this year,
Probably
Randy? He's
not.
going to be the ace of the Nationals.
Probably not. So it's great to see this tournament. And by the way, there are other teams that are really good. And as we saw, there are no guarantees for the USA. So it's a fun thing to keep an eye on. Those are your quick hits here in the fight. Later in the show, you can participate in some risky business. We are going to build a parlay, and I've got a great one for you today out of the SEC basketball tournament. So you'll want to stick around for that. But coming up, the most striking moves in NFL free agency. Next in the fight. It's been a crazy week at the opening of the NFL's legal tampering period. We get all kinds of news for contracts that aren't even signed yet. And let's go through some of them. In Buffalo, they lost a wide receiver. Obviously, they lost several wide receivers, but they acquired DJ Moore from the Bears for a draft pick. This might be the guy. Well, I'll tell you what. Stephon Diggs was the guy for Josh Allen. Now they have a new guy for Josh Allen. I'll be interested to see if DJ Moore is that downfield threat that Buffalo has been just praying to have for such a long time.
Yeah, I think he will be. That's what he was for the Bears before they went and got Rome Odunze. He was the number one guy, although the Bears offense really wasn't scripted for DJ Moore to go deep. For Josh Allen, he has that slot guy in Khalil Shakir already, so having DJ Moore as that threat, he can be that guy. He can win 50-50 balls. He can win the one-on-one on the outside. He will be awesome in Buffalo.
The salary cap in the NFL is $300 million. The Miami Dolphins took a $100 million cap hit when they released Tua Tagovailoa. So they're going to be playing with a $200 million cap, while everybody else has a $300 million cap. That being said, the Dolphins were able to sign the number one quarterback on the market, Malik Willis, to a 3-year contract. The question is, will he be good? In limited playing time for Green Bay, he was. Limited playing time for Tennessee, he was not. What will the Miami staff be able to get out of Malik Willis?
I think it's pretty obvious why he wasn't good in Tennessee, because Tennessee is just a terrible team.
Yeah.
Green Bay, on the other hand, is a very good team and a playoff team at that. The Dolphins can be that if they want to. They just seem to be misguided a little bit last season. I'm very curious to see how it plays out, because when you take a cap hit like that, in my eyes, you have to go much younger across the board with your roster. You can't go out and just sign a veteran and eat up a chunk of change. You have to kind of see what your young guys present for you. So I think it's going to lean on Achane a lot, having him be a focal point of that offense again. But is Malik Willis going to have the options outside that he needs?
And you also have to have a great front office and great coaching. Denver did this, obviously, when they got rid of Russell Wilson and went to the playoffs. But they had a rookie quarterback under a rookie contract. They had a great coach in Sean Payton and a great GM in George Payton. So it's a little bit different situation. We just don't know what Miami has right now in the front office. All right, the Jets have had a great defense for years. So what do when they face free agency? They go out and they get Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's been around forever with the Dolphins and the Steelers and the Dolphins again. They signed 37-year-old Demario Davis, who's been with New Orleans forever. They go out and sign pass rusher Joseph Asai. You know what? The Jets are still going to suck, and they might just suck forever.
Oh my gosh, they live in purgatory. And it's hilarious because those are three names that even if you're just an average football fan, you know. You know those three guys. But that doesn't mean that they're still in their prime. That doesn't mean that these guys are still at their best. And so the Jets they rely on old talent in order to kind of get them somewhere. But it's funny that you mentioned their defense. What has always been the issue with the Jets?
It's the offense.
It's the offense. Yeah. And so why are we not in search of better guys on the offensive line? And I know they did that through draft, and they should be building up from that. And I know that they're probably more mediocre now than they are terrible in the offensive line portion of things. But Garrett Wilson was frustrated last year, and he's a stud. Breece Hall was frustrated. He's a stud.
Wouldn't you rather add these three guys to Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams? It's unbelievable how bad they are. Okay, after Baltimore traded for defensive end Max Crosby, who is the best in the league at what he does, they weren't able to sign Tyler Linderbaum. Nobody else was either. He went to the Raiders for $27 million a year. But now the Ravens have some holes on that offensive line. They need to fix the interior of their offensive line. They've always done a magnificent job of that with the draft. The problem is the Ravens offensive line coach that developed all those guys, he died a couple of years ago. And so now they don't have the ability to draft guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds and turn them into great guards like they did before.
I don't listen to insiders when it comes to how to reshape that offensive line in Baltimore. I listen to Derrick Henry. I listened to Lamar Jackson. And last year, Derrick Henry was very upset with how that offensive line played. Yes, they were injured for a majority of the season, but when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, who can easily be a 2,000-yard rusher for your team, you have to make sure he becomes a 2,000-yard rusher for your team. So making sure you replace Tyler Linderbaum is a huge, huge ask right now, and you need to get it right.
And we have to remember this about the Ravens. Personnel aside, this is a different staff. This isn't John Harbaugh's team anymore. It's a completely different coaching staff, and it'll be interesting to see how they do with the new staff. All right, the Steelers signed former Cowboy and former Mike McCarthy player Rico Dowdle to play running back, and they also made a trade with Indianapolis, getting Michael Pittman Jr. from the Colts. I don't know how much that helps Pittsburgh, but at least they added a couple of offensive players.
What's funny is Pittman is better than Pierce. And I don't know what Indy was really thinking here when they said, hey, let's splurge on Pierce and not splurge to keep Michael Pittman Jr.
And Alec Pierce got $30 million a year from the Colts. So what are they going to do? They've been looking for receivers forever. They want a game breaker. Pierce, it doesn't appear to be a game breaker, but it seems like Indy, and they traded their next two first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. So I don't know what Indy is going to do. They're going to have to strike gold with a wide receiver later in the draft.
Yeah, well, you have to think that Alec Pierce has to be a 10-touchdown guy. Like, if you really believe he can catch 10 touchdowns for you, then great, this works out. Or you have to think that Josh Downs is going to stay healthy, because he's been just a roller coaster of an injury wave.
The Tennessee Titans have a new offensive coordinator. His name is Brian Daboll, who used to be the head coach of the Giants and the offensive coordinator of the Bills. In Buffalo, his backup quarterback was Mitch Trubisky. The Titans signed him. In New York, he had Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver. The Titans signed him. All they had to do was go to Brian Daboll and say, hey, who do you want? And he said, anybody from the Giants or Bills is good. I'm good. So that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and I actually really like Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, of course, he came from the team I cheer for at the college ranks, but I thought he actually performed extremely well in New York.
He came from Kentucky?
Well, he started at Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
And then he went to Kentucky.
Got it, okay.
So, yeah, he was a Husker for a little while, and then when he left and he stayed a stud at Kentucky, I'm like, this is really before NIL. I just thought, how can you not keep this guy?
It's illegal NIL. That's what it was. How about the Chiefs? They retained Travis Kelce. No big surprise there. But Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP running back, comes. And I wonder how Walker fits with what Kansas City does. He just doesn't seem to be the Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco type that they've had over the years. He's different, and obviously Eric Bieniemy is back as their running backs coach and offensive coordinator. I'll be really interested to see if Kenneth Walker, who, by the way, has trouble staying healthy, I'll be interested to see what he's able to do in Kansas City.
That's the big point, is this guy can't play a full season. And when you pay a guy to be your lead back, and making this move tells me that you don't trust Isaiah Pacheco anymore. He's just not going to be a key part of your offense. You don't trust Kareem Hunt, if he's even still going to be around. And in general, Kenneth Walker, if he's on the field, he's great. He's one of the best running backs in the league. But he's also not on the field all too much and only had 5 touchdowns last year. I believe it was 5 touchdowns in the regular season.
He could be the next Josh Jacobs, right? Going from Vegas to Green Bay and having big-time success.
Awesome.
But the big thing is availability. He's got ability, but the most important ability is availability. The Raiders went crazy, as they often do in free agency. They signed Tyler Linderbaum, the Ravens center, to a $27 million a year contract. 3 years, $81 million. Previously, Andrew, the highest paid center in the league, was making $18 million a year. That's Creed Humphrey in Kansas City. They blew past $19 million and $20 and $22 and $24 and $25 and $26 and gave the guy $9 million more a year, 33% more than the previous high for a center. For a center.
What did I text you yesterday?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
I said, the Raiders are going to have 4 wins, but hey, they have a really good center.
Great center, yeah. They also brought in wide receiver Jalen Naylor from Baltimore, who's never really done anything. N'Kobe Dean, who was a nice player for Philadelphia at one point in their Super Bowl run. Quay Walker from Green Bay comes over. He was a disappointment for the Packers. Kwity Paye, pretty good pass rusher. But it just seems like the Raiders are being the Raiders. It doesn't matter who the GM is, doesn't matter who the coach is, doesn't matter if Tom Brady is there. They are just bananas in handing out money. And 3 years down the road, none of these guys, including the center, won't be there.
And my thought here is, okay, you had Max Crosby. Max Crosby was obviously the best player on your team. And you just allowed the trade, you coordinated a trade to get your best player off the team to replace him now and pay 5 different guys. Is that what we're scaling here? Like, are we trying to weigh these options and say Max Crosby is now here and the other guys are up here now that we have more options? It doesn't really seem to It doesn't add up for me.
By the way, the division mates of the Raiders, the Chargers, signed Tyler Biadasz to a 3-year deal for $30 million. So Linderbaum, who is the best center in the league, he deserves to be the highest paid. Biadasz is in the top 6 in the league.
So.
And he's getting virtually over 3 years what Linderbaum is getting per year. So,
Is that good?
Yeah. No,
Maybe for Linderbaum.
The Giants and John Harbaugh signed tight end Isaiah Likely away from the Ravens. They also made Baltimore punter Jordan Stout the highest paid punter in the league. Of course, you know that John Harbaugh started his head coaching career coming out of being a special teams coach for the Eagles. They also signed, this is interesting, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds of his Bears. And that takes him out of the linebacker market in the draft. And I think they're going to take Caleb Downs with the 5th pick.
I don't think that's a bad call. I think Caleb Downs might be the best defensive. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be the best defensive player in this draft. I know Arvell Reese is up there, and I know there's other pass rushers, but I think Caleb Downs is the most athletic and just the most overall talented player.
I think he'll be the highest impact guy, too. The Commanders gave Laramie Tunsil their great left tackle an extension. The Bears signed Gallimore, and they traded for Bradbury. So you like your Bears moves?
Yeah, I think it's okay. If we're like giving an actual grade to them, I would give them a B, just because it might have even fallen to a C if it weren't for Dahlman just retiring out of the blue. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a bump up, but I don't think this really moves the needle for this team.
Atlanta loves them some left-handed quarterbacks. They already have Michael Penix. You remember they had Michael Vick. Now they have Tua Tagovailoa, and obviously Penix is hurt at the beginning of the season. Great opportunity for Tua in Atlanta.
I actually love this signing because keeping it with 2 lefty quarterbacks in your room does not change your offensive schematics at all. You can do the exact same thing you were in training camp with Michael Penix as you will do with Tua now.
Yep. Don't know what Carolina was thinking. They gave defensive end, edge rusher Jalen Phillips $30 million a year. He never plays. He had a year last year where it was almost a career year. He got traded from Miami to Philly. $30 million a year for Jalen Phillips is a bad deal for the Panthers.
Yeah, well, the Panthers are also kind of like the Raiders in this case. They make some poor choices, but I think the Panthers are well beyond what the Raiders currently are.
The Saints signed Travis Etienne away from the Jacksonville Jaguars, so it would appear that spells the end for Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. Whether he retires or gets traded or gets cut, we don't know.
Well, another guy that can't stay on the field, especially in recent years. And Etienne had a great bounce-back year. I always thought he was the king of the 1-yard rushing touchdown. He did not look like that this past season. I'm also more curious about what Jacksonville's doing now at running back. Are they thinking Tootin's just their guy?
I think that might be it, yeah. And then remember, they traded Tank Bigsby before last season, and you can always find running backs in the draft. After the Cardinals extended James Conner, who had a gruesome leg injury last year, they signed Tyler Algier away from Atlanta. There's not going to be a lot of explosiveness in that Cardinal backfield. The explosive guy that they have fumbles at the goal line. And they also signed,
Is that Trey Benson?
No, the number 31.
DeMercado.
Yeah,
Amari DeMercado.
Yeah, there you go. And then they signed Gardner Minshew. He will be the backup to Jacoby Brissett at quarterback in Arizona. The Rams signed Jalen Watson, added him to Trent McDuffie. Those two were corners last year in Kansas City. Now they'll team up again with the Rams. The Niners with a surprising move, getting wide receiver Mike Evans under a 3-year contract, formerly of Tampa Bay. He'll be a good fit in San Francisco.
I love this because Brock Purdy had no one to throw to last year. I mean, the top receiver on their team would be a number 3 receiver on every other team. Mike Evans gives you a legitimate number 1.
And the Super Bowl champs gave Rashid Shaheed an extension, so he's one of the Seahawks that stays in Seattle. So the biggest move in your mind?
Oh my goodness, there was just so much going on.
See, I think it's when you look at what the Giants have done, when you look, especially Edmonds, because I think that changes the draft. Now all of a sudden, they're able to have a really stout defense. They've got great pass rush. They need one cornerback in the draft, and Downs will be an impact player for them. But then getting the punter, getting the tight end, they get, obviously, their quarterback, Jackson Dart, back, and they get Scatabo back. I think the Giants are going to be good, and John Harbaugh said he thinks they're going to be a playoff team. I think they might.
You know what? I'll go with the Chiefs. I'll say Kenneth Walker is the biggest move for me, just because that was just so shocking. That was
the most shocking move to me.
Yeah, okay, well, that was on the list. There it is. Most shocking move, too. I'll give it biggest and most shocking move.
Yeah, who won the day? I think I will go with the Giants, although You never know about the Raiders. Maybe Tyler Linderbaum is going to be a difference maker.
The Raiders did pay a bunch of people. I think the Dolphins actually won the day because they got rid of Tua, which I really believe needed to happen. And by getting Malik Willis, like that, the best quarterback available at the time, I think that's great for that franchise.
And then the move, I already talked about Jalen Phillips with Carolina. I just don't understand that move at $30 million a year. And I got to say this. And I like the Ravens, and I like Tyler Linderbaum. I think he is the best center in the league. But I don't think you go from the highest paid guy being $18 million to giving and maybe they had to do it to get him to go to the Raiders. But you just can't give the new highest paid guy 33% more than the previous highest paid guy.
I think I'll go with the Jets. I just didn't really like what they kind of did.
Good point. Good one. Yeah, they could use themselves a quarterback.
Yeah, I think, well, Brady Cook is in that system, right?
And Fields is still there.
Yeah, let's go. Come on.
Unbelievable. All right, that is just the first day in the NFL free agency. Yeah, coming up with the WBC getting so much love from the players, we'll bring you our top international team collections next in the fight. In honor of the great Team USA World Baseball Classic roster, we give you the best international teams ever in any sport. And it doesn't have to be a USA team, but I'm going to stick with the USA because I'm an American. And I'm going to go with my number 3, Andrew. In 2004, a young USA basketball team went to the Olympics in Athens and got a bronze medal. Bronze for USA basketball? That's just not acceptable for the USA. Youngsters LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony were led by Allen Iverson, maybe not the best leader, and the team coached by Larry Brown lost 3 games and came home without gold. After that, USA basketball put Jerry Colangelo in charge, named Duke's Mike Krzyzewski as head coach, and developed a plan. Players actually had to play with the team before they could play in the Olympics. And in 1988, those young players wanted redemption, and they chose the name the Redeem Team. And when they added Kobe Bryant to the mix as captain, they became a team worth staying up until 3:30 in the morning to watch in Beijing. In 8 games, their point differential was plus 233. 6 of the 12 players are already in the Hall of Fame, and LeBron James will be. And in September of 2025, the entire team was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. It was an amazing team led by Kobe Bryant. And the story is, in their first game against Spain, and Spain had won the gold in 2004, Kobe told his teammates, on the first play of the game, I know what they're going to run, and Pau Gasol, my teammate with the Lakers, is going to be standing there, and I am going to go right through his chest. Just look for the documentary, The Redeem Team, and look for the clip. We can't play it because it'd have to be bleeped out too much. But man, Kobe just leveled Pau Gasol, and everybody thought, oh, this is real. And it was. It was an amazing team.
A lot of respect for a move like that, for Kobe to separate interests with one of his better friends, you could probably say.
His brother,
maybe his best
they called
friend.
each other brothers.
Right, maybe his best friend, to create a new team, a new band of brothers and say, no, these are my guys now for the next, call it, month. And yes, Pau Gasol, I'll go back to you and say, we're going to be great. We're going to be great teammates. We're going to be brothers again, but no more. Right now, we are enemies. And that's kind of what you see at the World Baseball Classic right now. People are trying to make a big deal out of teammates not shaking hands or fist bumping. Guess what? They're with a new team right now. They're worried about them. They're not worried about this. And knowing that, having that guy be your captain is everything in terms of being a redemption team.
A couple of things. Number one, if you get a chance to watch any of the Redeem Team documentaries, they're great. And number two, I just popped into my head. Can you imagine Bob Gibson having to deal with pitching in a World Baseball Classic with all the other fellow major leaguers from other teams? Oh my, would not have been good.
You know what? I might just be a PO that day. I don't want to step into the box.
No, you don't.
All right, my number 3, Randy. In 2022, Messi's final international send-off was everything you wanted it to be. After finally winning the 2021 Copa America, he had the weight of a nation on his shoulders, chasing the one thing missing from an already legendary resume, a World Cup trophy. Argentina was the favorites in 2022 and matched the moment, and even though Messi's chase for history brought all the eyeballs, the final was more than we all could ask for. Extra time was wild, with Messi scoring first, and then Mbappe scored a PK late, which put it 2 penalties in the end, and after that, each team went back and forth, but only one team scored every time, and that was Argentina. This Argentinian team was clearly the best team since 2021, and that's why they were the favorite moving forward in 2022. They deserved to win the World Cup that year. The story was completed because it was Messi's final chance at a World Cup, and he was able to get it.
He still is awesome, and they were awesome. And what a great World Cup that was. That one is, like you say, that draws all the eyes all over the world because it is the best players all concentrated into to one place, and it makes all of the soccer great. We don't have any of the, all due respect to what we see in MLS, but every team has only great players.
And this was a moment, too, where everybody was matching up Ronaldo and Messi and saying, Messi, you just don't have the leg up right now. You can't have the leg up yet because of what Ronaldo has in the accolade department. That win right there put him above Ronaldo, making him the best player ever to play the game of soccer.
All right, my number 2, the late 90s USA women's soccer team. Brianna Scurry in goal, Julie Foudy, Mia Hamm, Brandi Chastain. The 99ers won the Olympics and the World Cup, and they were 84-6-6 and had a 31-match unbeaten string. They established the first professional women's soccer league, negotiated the first collective bargaining agreement, made soccer a viable career for women, and when Brandi Chastain ripped off her jersey after scoring this goal against China, she not only seared the memory of her team into our memories forever, but that team changed the way we looked at women's sports from a sports and a business perspective. That team was fundamentally sound and dominant, but they had a great personality. They were fun to watch, and they were proud of playing for the USA, a great collection of Americans and one of the great international teams of all time.
I wonder how big women's soccer, USA women's soccer that is, would actually be with Alex Morgan, with Megan Rapinoe, with Julie Ertz, like that group of players. Would they have been as big as they were without that 90s team? I don't think so. I think they would have had to start that like the 90s team did.
But those ladies grew up idolizing Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy, right? So those girls, Brandi Chastain, they brought a lot of young female athletes into the sport that might not have played if it weren't for that moment.
And now Team USA is always good at women's soccer.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen a bad Team USA women's soccer team. All right, my number 2, Randy. Canada's 2002 Olympic hockey team was pure redemption. After heartbreaks in 96 and 98 and a 50-year gold drought, the pressure was insane, but the roster was unreal. They had Mario Lemieux, Joe Sakic, Steve Yzerman, Jerome McGinley, Brendan Shanahan, Chris Pronger, Al McGinnis on the blue line, and Brodeur and Curtis Joseph in goal. Team's awesome. It all came down to the NHL's ideal matchup. Team Canada playing for gold against the Americans, who beat them in 1996. And Canada did it this time, and how could they not with a team like that? That 2002 team is the best Canada hockey team of all time. I'm actually okay saying that. Yes, 2010 was awesome, 2014 was good, but that 2002 team with what they had was just absolutely loaded.
Yeah, amazing. And here we are today, and we see these dynamic teams with all those names that you listed, pretty remarkable. All right, I mentioned that the Redeem team had 6 and will have 7 players in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Pretty impressive, right?
Yep.
Well, the 1992 Dream Team had Hall of Famer John Stockton, Hall of Famer Karl Malone, Hall of Famer Clyde Drexler, Hall of Famer Chris Mullin, Hall of Famer David Robinson, Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen, and the starting lineup of Hall of Famers Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan, all in the Hall of Fame. 11 of the 12 players on that team, the greatest team ever put together in any sport. USA didn't always send NBA players to the Olympics, and we got tired of having our college guys lose to 30-something soldiers from communist countries whose job was to play basketball. So in 1992, we said, okay, fine. We sent NBA players. And what should have happened, happened. A 68-point win over Angola in which Charles Barkley elbowed one of their players in one of the most iconic moments in Olympic history. 33-point win over Croatia, 43-point win over Germany. You get the idea. The best and most dominant team in this history of team sports was the Dream Team. By the way, the 12th player that isn't in the Hall of Fame, USA Basketball required that one college player still be on the roster at that time. So Duke's Christian Laettner was. He never made the Hall of Fame, but he can say, hey, I was on the Dream Team, the greatest team ever.
Yeah, well, and good news for Christian Laettner is the starting five is what you remember. And even the bench guys, even though they were Hall of Famers, those guys are more forgotten about too. So Laettner, don't feel like you're one of them because you're in the shadows of Bird, of Jordan, of Barkley, etc.
Think about this, though. If you have Stockton and let's just put Stockton and Drexler in the backcourt, and you have a front line of David Robinson and Chris Mullin and Karl Malone,
you win.
You're going to win the Olympics.
You win.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious how you started that off. Because when you hear Hall of Famers, these five guys, you think, okay, that's the starting lineup. But you were like, not so fast. And then rattled off the biggest names in basketball.
Unbelievable.
And I was going to ask you who was the Hall of Famer on that list, so I'm happy you pulled that up. And that would have been my number one too, Randy. So instead of giving like a comparable number one, I wouldn't have really like a really fun time with my number one. So I'm going to give you the 2009 Parkview Little League team out of Chula Vista because they were straight up unreal. They might be the most dominant Little League World Series team of all time. They set records for home runs, RBIs, total bases, hits, and team slugging. Basically everything you could stack up. Kiko Garcia was a hitting machine. He hit for 667 batting average. And prior to that, in the regionals, he had 14 hits. 12 of them were home runs. Bula Graft was the pure athlete of the bunch. He eventually played college football at William Jewell here in Missouri, so fun fact there. But the guy that made you sweat was a kid by the name of Luke Ramirez. Okay, so he'll pop up in the highlights here. That was Graft there. So just, you'll notice him because at the age of 13, he was 6 feet tall, 212 pounds. He threw a 74-mile-per-hour fastball. This is him. Look, he looks like a man.
He might be. Oh, brother.
It's just insane. His fastball checks out in big league terms at 96 miles per hour at 13 years old in the Little League World Series. Imagine facing him at the plate. It's terrifying. You're on the mound, and he's at bat. It's terrifying. This team was the most dominant in my mind for a lot of different reasons, but for a guy like Ramirez, for a guy like Graft and Garcia, they were just incredible.
Not really 13 years old.
No, he can't be, right? You know what, the scene in Benchwarmers, like when they pull out the birth certificate and it's just his image and it's a crayon that says, I am 12. And it's got a 20 pockets. It looks good to me.
Yeah. So, and by the way, the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team was not in the list today. We've talked about them a lot lately, and they're right there. They're one of the all-time great teams, right?
Of course.
For their impact than the type of quality of players that they had, but that was one of the great teams ever. All right, that is the list. Next up, we're going to build you a parlay here in the fight. All right, time to build a parlay here in the fight, and it is tournament week, championship week in college basketball. Looking forward to that, and Missouri is going to play the winner of the Kentucky-LSU game in their first game at the SEC tournament. Kentucky and LSU, Kentucky's pretty good, 7.5-point favorite over LSU. I don't think they're that good, though. I don't think that they're going to cover that 7.5. So, Andrew, I'm going to take LSU and the points in this one at -108, and then I think Kentucky wins the game, by the way, and then I think Mizzou beats Kentucky.
You know what's funny is Kentucky could either win this game by like 14 or 15, or you're right, they could win it by 3.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why it's a pretty fun play here and pretty relatively safe because of the inconsistencies of that Kentucky team.
Yep.
Oh.
So go Tigers.
Well, I clicked on Richmond and Loyola Chicago. I don't want the A10.
Okay.
I don't want the A10. I want the Big West. I've been really into the Big West
Okay,
lately
why?
because there was an old coach from Lindenwood who I'm good friends with. He coaches at Fullerton now, and they made the tournament a few years ago. But I've been following along with that league a lot, so I feel like I'm actually low-key an expert when it comes to that. And you take any of the UC teams against the non-UC teams.
Okay.
So the first game that you're going to see up here is UC San Diego against Cal Poly.
So
you take UC San Diego. Super confident in this play. The UC teams are just better than the other teams in this league this year.
How could a bunch of Polytechnic students not beat UC
Well,
San
because
Diego.
they're trying to do too much math with
Oh,
the
got it.
trajectory, and then
Okay.
they get stuffed because
Okay.
their shot is too slow.
Okay, so there you go. So we've actually got a couple of pretty conservative plays here.
I like this.
This is at plus 260, so we bet $100, and we're going to come back with win
260
of
in profit.
Yep, 260 in profit is a good thing.
Yeah, we like that.
So there's our parlay, and
That's
we will.
quick math.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on those basketball scores for you, and we'll tell you when we win. We don't really tell you when we don't, but we'll tell you when
And
we
you'll
win.
know too when you win because you'll be cheering too.
Yep. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. We've got Story Time with Uncle Randy, and we've got Today in Sports History, a wild Today in Sports History coming up here in The Fight. All right, time now for Take It or Leave It here in The Fight. And Andrew, did you see that the Phillies signed Jesus Luzardo?
To football money.
Yeah, he got a pretty good contract for a pretty good pitcher. 5 years, $135 million. That's like $27 million a year. He's like a center in the NFL. Luzardo has accumulated an 11.3 WAR over 7 years. But take it or leave it. If Luzardo is getting $27 million, Tarek Skubal, who has 17.3 WAR and 2 Cy Youngs in 6 years, should get 3 times that, $81 million a year.
All right. So who is the highest paid pitcher in baseball? Is it
Do
Garrett Cole?
you want to go Ohtani because he's
Ohtani?
getting the 70?
Technically, yes. Okay, well, we'll count Ohtani, but he just says something so different.
Okay.
So I don't think you should get paid more money than Shohei Ohtani, but we know, as we know, it's all about the next contract, not about the current contract, so
Right.
somebody will make more than that. I will take
Just
it.
relatively speaking,
I
I
will
mean,
take it just for that reason.
This is the thing.
Right.
That's the number right there.
If we are basing it off of that number, Jesus Luzardo, he was okay with the A's. He obviously revitalized his career with the Phillies. Yeah, I think Tarek Skubal's worth that.
Yeah, unbelievable. But that's where we are in sports.
$81 million a year.
Yeah. So if anybody is hoping that there is not a salary cap, it's Scott Boras' client, Tarek Skubal, who becomes a free agent after this year.
Unless we put a cap on like years, and then you can pay somebody 3 years and 81 AAV, and then Scott Boras, I'm sure, would still be happy with that. But they like to lock up money.
Yeah. He wants to have that $800 million contract.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Okay, Randy. So we talked about it earlier, but the WBC has been absolutely electric. It means so much to so many, especially in Korea, when they beat Australia to advance to the quarterfinals for the first time in 17 years. This was the broadcaster's reaction. Even if we could understand what they were saying, because I know you don't speak fluent
I do not.
Korean, neither do I. But we can only imagine that if broadcasters that spoke English were screaming like that, we at home would be like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely awesome. Take it or leave it. Game 6's triple and home run by David Freese needs a Korean rendition.
Oh, that would have been something. That would have been, yeah, I'll take that. You know what? We missed out on Polo and Benji.
We missed
not
it, yep.
doing Game 6 of the 2011 World Series.
And they would have been
I'll take
awesome
it.
too.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah,
the-
that's the same sort of enthusiasm.
Right, the
that they
Spanish
have.
broadcasters offer the same exact
Yeah.
thing. I need to hear a little bit more of that of Chip and Brad now. Like, I'd love that. Like, if J.J. Weatherholt goes nuts this year and does, like, big things, let's do that. If the Cardinals make the playoffs, I want that to be the reaction from Chip and Brad.
I want them screaming. Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'm taking
All
it.
right. That is Take It or Leave It. And now it's time for Story Time with Uncle Randy. We're going to get you a decade. We're going to get you a sport, and we're going to get you a story. And let's start with a decade, and we are headed towards the 1990s.
Yep.
Yes.
We are going to stop there.
We got the 90s. I remember some of the 90s. So.
I don't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember all the 90s. So.
Hey, we're doing baseball, Randy.
1990s baseball.
How much do you remember?
I got
Probably
some,
a lot.
I got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let's see. Okay. You know what I'm going to do?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to go with. We haven't done. Have we done Vicente Palacios? I think we. I'm going to do my buddy Joe Torre. So in 1995, the Cardinals fired Joe Torre, but it wasn't any ordinary firing. So we'd had the strike in 1994, and the Cardinals were off to a horrible start in 1995, and. They were off to such a horrible start that they decided to make a trade and trade Todd Zeile to the Chicago Cubs for Mike Morgan. Well, the president of the team at that time said, you know what, I don't want to do 2 press conferences. Let's just fire Joe too. And so they decided, okay, we're going to do the trade, and we're going to get rid of Joe Torre. We're going to do it all on the same day. So Torre knows the trade is coming on the 14th, night of June 14th. Goes up to Walt Jocketty's office to talk about the trade, moving Zeal and informing Zeal and getting Mike Morgan. But he had left his briefcase down in his office. So the main floor, Walt Jocketty's office, down by the clubhouse in the basement, is the Cardinal clubhouse. Torre finishes his conversation with Walt, goes downstairs into the clubhouse to get his briefcase, and the equipment guys are clearing out his office. That's how Joe Torre found out in 1995 that he was being fired by the St. Louis Cardinals. And people thought he did a terrible job. Best thing that ever happened to him, because he goes to the Yankees, wins the World Series in 1996 and 1998 and 1999 and 2000. But not a great way to learn that you've been whacked.
So, okay, we talk about this a lot with coaches. What was the 1995 Cardinals lineup looking like?
Okay, so you had Zeal and you had Jeffries. So Zeal at third, Jeffries. Ozzie was at short, but he was hurt, so you had a guy named Trip Cromer at second or at shortstop. Second base, I don't know if I think it might have been Alisea. I'm not sure. And then the outfield was Bernard Gilkey in left, Ray Langford in center, Brian Jordan in right, Tom Pagnazzi behind the plate. Your problem was your pitching was not great.
Right.
You had Alan Watson, you had Rene Arocha, you had I think Tewksbury might have been gone by then. It was just not a very good team.
So sometimes bad rosters don't tell you everything about a manager's firing,
exactly.
right? Because when you go to the Yankees, we could talk about their roster all day and just know that, hey, he had really good players, so no wonder they won the World Series.
All right, so that's how Joe got fired. Okay, now it's time for this date in sports history. And it's not about somebody dying. Our director, Tyler Klaus, said, oh, you don't have anybody dying. No, this is almost as good, though, not as bad. The Yankees on this date released outfielder Ruben Rivera for stealing Derek Jeter's mitt out of his locker and selling it on the black market for $2,500. There are rumors that Rivera also took memorabilia from Roger Clemens, but Clemens denies it. Rivera had been signed to a one-year, $1 million contract, and he blew it by stealing Derek Jeter's glove out of his locker and trying to sell it for $2,500.
Yeah, how about we stop stealing away Derek Jeter's items?
Yeah.
Right? It seems like there's a lot going into that.
And then it was Jeter's gamer,
right.
So he was particularly upset.
You know what's funny, too, is how do you prove that that's Derek Jeter's glove, right? You probably got to print out photos or like you see something.
Oh, a certificate of authenticity for a stolen glove. And he tried to sell it to a guy in Seattle who said, yeah, I can't have this. And apparently it was a guy in Seattle that informed MLB that he had Jeter's
and then all of a
glove.
sudden, as you said, $1 million goes out the window for a short payday. We see that a lot with even the guys that get banned from sports because of gambling.
And then many years later, Rivera said, no, I never stole the glove. They were just trying to get rid of me, and they put it all on me, but that never happened.
I thought that was my glove.
Yeah.
I put that glove in my bag.
Unbelievable. So there you go. That is this date in sports history. Ruben Rivera getting cut by the Yankees because he stole Derek Jeter's glove and a bat out of his locker.
Do that.
All right. We have Cardinal Spring Training Baseball on Thursday at noon here on Matrix Midwest as they take on the Mets. We're here, the fight, every day at 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. and then again the next day at 7 in the morning. Plus, you can grab the podcast on the Matrix Midwest app or on First Alert 4 On. Just search First Alert 4 On and you can enjoy that streaming platform and everything that we provide for it. And if you want to participate in the fight, just send us an email at thefight at matrixmidwest.com or log on to matrixmidwest.com, go to the Character and Company drop-down and use that menu there. Great job as always by the one and only Andrew Rogers.
And great job by you.
And our outstanding director, Tyler Klaus, always doing great work with us. Thanks for tuning in. For Andrew and Tyler, I'm Randy, and we'll see you next time here in The Fight.